They killed and walked away. A girl was buried. A woman vanished. A body was never found. But no one went to prison. Why? Because these were not ordinary people, they were protected. Famous. Rich. Connected. Untouchable. Until now. Subscribe to Unbelievable True Story. Because the truth doesn't always win. Number 1. Robert Durst, the billionaire who couldn't stop killing. He had everything. Money. Real estate. A last name that opened doors in Manhattan. But behind his eyes was something cold. Something hidden. Something lethal. Robert Durst didn't just get away with murder once. Or twice. But 3 times. And even when he confessed, the law still hesitated. The Durst family was New York royalty. Robert's father, Seymour Durst, was a real estate mogul. The kind of man who built skyscrapers and made fortunes. Robert was the eldest son. But he didn't want the empire. He was different. Detached. And deeply affected by a childhood trauma. He claimed to have witnessed his mother's death when she jumped from the roof of their home. That event shaped him. According to his own words, it numbed him. Friends described him as smart but cold. Strange, but functional. He attended Lehigh University. Then UCLA. But he wasn't interested in building a business. He was interested in control. In 1973, Robert married Kathy McCormack. She was beautiful. Young. Bright. Studying to become a doctor. But life with Robert was difficult. He was controlling. Abusive. Neighbors overheard fights. Kathy told friends she feared him. She wanted out. On January 31, 1982, Kathy disappeared. Vanished. Robert claimed he dropped her off at a train station. Said she went back to their Manhattan apartment. But her friend said otherwise. She never showed up at med school the next morning. She never called. She never came back. Police were slow to act. No body. No clear evidence. No charges. Years passed. And Robert moved on. Susan was Robert's longtime friend. A writer. A daughter of a mobster. She was loyal. And she knew things. In December 2000, just as investigators reopened Kathy's case, Susan was found dead. Shot execution style in her Los Angeles home. No forced entry. No robbery. Robert later admitted he was in LA that week. A letter was sent to police with the word cadaver and Susan's address. The handwriting? Nearly identical to Robert's. He denied sending it. But the spelling of Beverly was the same way he always spelled it. Still, no arrest. In 2001, Robert Durst was arrested. Not for Kathy. Not for Susan. But for the murder and dismemberment of his neighbor, Morris Black. Robert had disguised himself as a mute woman and rented an apartment. Why? He said he wanted to hide from Susan Berman's murder investigation. But Morris Black figured out who he was. Durst claimed self-defense. He said Morris came at him with a gun. In a panic, he shot him. Then, he chopped the body into pieces. Put them in garbage bags. And threw them into Galveston Bay. His defense? He panicked. Didn't know what to do. The jury believed it. He was acquitted of murder. Yes. Acquitted. Years passed. Robert lived in hiding. Quiet. Until 2015. That's when HBO released The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst. A true crime documentary that reopened everything. It showed inconsistencies. Lies. But the real twist came at the end. While wearing a live MIC, Robert went to the bathroom and whispered to himself. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course. That was all the public needed. In 2020, Durst was finally charged with the murder of Susan Berman. The pandemic delayed the trial. But in 2021, he was convicted, sentenced to life in prison. But justice came late. A few months later, in early 2022, Robert Durst died in custody. Old, sick, alone. Kathy's body was never found. He was never charged in her death. Her family still seeks closure. He had the money. He had the power. But in the end, the truth caught up. Number 2, Roman Polanski, the acclaimed director and fugitive. Roman Polanski was one of the most celebrated directors in the world. Rosemary's Baby, Chinatown, The Pianist. But behind the Oscar-winning genius was a secret. And then, a scandal. A predator hidden in plain sight. Polanski was born in Paris. But he survived the Holocaust in Poland. His mother died in Auschwitz. He escaped the Nazis. He knew pain. Knew survival. In the 1960s, he rose in fame. A brilliant filmmaker. Dark stories. Artistic visuals. Critics called him a visionary. In 1969, tragedy struck. His wife, Sharon Tate, was murdered by the Manson family. She was pregnant. The world mourned. Polanski was devastated. Or so it seemed. In 1977, Roman Polanski was invited to Jack Nicholson's home. He brought a 13-year-old girl. Her name, Samantha Gema. He told her it was for a photo shoot. Champagne was served. Quaaludes were offered. And then, he raped her. He was arrested. Charged with multiple felonies. Rape, sodomy, child molestation. He made a deal. Pled guilty to 1 count, unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. But before sentencing, he fled. Polanski left the United States. He ran to France. And for the next 4 decades, he lived in luxury. He made more films. Won more awards. Even an Oscar. Hollywood applauded him. Cheered him. The victim, Samantha, eventually forgave him. But the law didn't. The US issued a warrant. He was arrested in Switzerland in 2009. Held for extradition. But again, he escaped. Some defended him. It was a long time ago. He's a genius. She forgave him. Others were furious. Justice has no expiration date. In 2017, the #MeToo movement reignited the rage. New women came forward. Similar stories. Similar ages. But still, no trial. No prison. Polanski continues to live in Europe. Protected by dual citizenship. Untouchable by extradition laws. He remains a fugitive in the United States. Hollywood is divided. Some call him a legend. Others call him a monster. The truth? He is both. A man who created masterpieces on screen and horror off of it. He fled justice. Hid in mansions. Won applause. But one truth remains, he ran because he was guilty. Number 3, Bill Cosby, The Fall of America's Dad. Bill Cosby. Actor. Comedian. Father figure. And predator. He was once called America's Dad. With his clean comedy and charming presence, Bill Cosby won hearts everywhere. He broke barriers as the first black actor to star in a drama series. He brought wisdom and warmth to American homes. But the smiles masked secrets. The whispers began in the early 2000s. Quiet stories of women saying they had been drugged, touched, assaulted. But Cosby denied everything. Then, in 2005, Andrea Constant came forward. A former Temple University employee. She said Cosby drugged and assaulted her at his home. A civil case followed. It was settled. But that wasn't the end. Hannibal Buress, on stage, "You rape women, Bill Cosby." The video went viral. And the dam burst. Dozens of women stepped forward. Actresses. Models. Waitresses. Athletes. Same story. Same pills. Same pain. Over 60 women accused him. Most cases were too old for prosecution. But Andrea Constand's case wasn't. In 2017, Cosby went to trial. The first ended in a hung jury. But in 2018, the second trial found him guilty on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. Cosby was once beloved. Now reviled. His honorary degrees were stripped. Awards rescinded. Reruns of The Cosby Show pulled. He became inmate #NN 7687. In 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction. A legal technicality. He was released. He claimed victory. His accusers felt betrayed. He made a fortune off fatherhood. But behind closed doors, he preyed on trust. Number 4, Charles Ng, The House of Horrors. Some monsters hide in the city. Others build their lairs in the woods. What authorities found in that cabin would haunt them for decades? Bones. Tapes. Tools of torture. This is the story of Charles Ng, the sadistic killer who, with his partner, created a house of horrors deep in the California wilderness. Charles Ng was born in Hong Kong in 1960 into a wealthy but abusive family. He was a troubled child, spoiled, violent, and expelled from several schools. At age 18, he came to the US on a student visa. But instead of studying, he got involved in petty crimes and soon joined the US Marine Corps with forged documents. But even in the military, his behavior raised alarms. He was caught stealing weapons. Arrested. He escaped custody, and that's when he met Leonard Lake. Leonard Lake was older. A former Marine, survivalist, and paranoid conspiracist. He had built a bunker on a remote property in Calaveras County, California. His dream? A doomsday haven. But his true intention was darker. Together, Lake and Ng developed a horrifying plan. They would abduct women, torture them, and force them into slavery. They wanted to repopulate the world after nuclear war with themselves in charge. What they created was a living nightmare. Between 1983 and 1985, families began to vanish. A man, his wife, and their baby. A woman and her friend. A handyman. A teacher. Each time, no signs. No struggle. Just gone. Ng and Lake lured victims with classified ads, fake job offers, or by pretending to buy things. Once inside their isolated cabin, victims were drugged, chained, and filmed. In June 1985, police finally stumbled onto them. Ng was caught shoplifting in South San Francisco. When the store clerk tried to stop him, Lake showed up with ID. Police were called. At the station, Lake swallowed a cyanide pill he had hidden in his shirt collar. Within hours, he was dead. What remained was Ng and the cabin. Authorities went to the compound. What they found was worse than horror films. Inside the cabin and underground bunker, they uncovered human bones. Torture devices. And worst of all, videotapes. Dozens of them. They showed women screaming, begging, some being assaulted, others tortured. Ng appeared on camera. Calm. Cold. Enjoying the suffering. Before police could arrest him, Charles Ng fled to Canada. He was caught shoplifting again. But extraditing him to the US took 12 years. Ng used every legal trick. Claimed torture. Fought every appeal. Finally, in 1999, he was returned to California. The trial began in 1998 and lasted over a year. It was one of the most expensive trials in California history. Ng claimed he was just a follower, that Leonard Lake did everything. But the tape said otherwise. In 1999, Charles Ng was convicted of 11 counts of murder. The jury recommended death. He was sent to San Quentin State Prison, placed on death row. To this day, he remains there, filing appeals, writing letters. But the horrors he helped unleash cannot be appealed. Some people kill out of rage, others for greed. Charles Ng killed for pleasure, and he filmed every second. Number 5, Ed Gein, the butcher of Plainfield. It started with a missing woman, then another. Then came the discovery that shook the world. This is the true story of Ed Gein, the man who inspired legends of terror. But the truth is far worse than fiction. Ed Gein was born in 1906, Plainfield, Wisconsin. His father was an alcoholic. His mother? A religious fanatic who believed all women were evil. She isolated Ed and his brother Henry, taught them about sin, death, and punishment. She ruled the home with fear. When Ed was just a boy, he idolized her, called her a saint, feared her wrath. But inside Ed, something was breaking. In 1944, Ed's brother Henry died in a suspicious fire. Ed was the only witness. Then, 2 years later, his beloved mother died. With no one left, Ed became completely isolated. He boarded up her bedroom and kept it untouched. Lived alone in filth, obsessed with death, and started reading about Nazis, anatomy, and grave robbing. That's when his descent into madness began. In 1957, local hardware store owner Bernice Worden went missing. Her son, a deputy, noticed the store was empty. A blood trail led to the back door. A sales receipt had Ed Gein's name on it. Police visited his home. What they found inside was pure horror. In the kitchen, Bernice Worden's head hung in a sack. Her body was found gutted and strung up like a deer in the shed. Inside the house, bowls made from skulls, chairs upholstered with human skin, a belt made of nipples, masks made of women's faces, and a suit made of a woman's torso. Ed Gein wanted to become his mother. Literally. He had exhumed bodies from graves, sometimes used fresh corpses. He wasn't just a killer. He was a collector. Ed Gein was arrested and quickly deemed insane. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and sent to a mental hospital. He confessed to killing 2 women, Bernice Worden and Mary Hogan. But authorities believed there may have been more. His story shocked America. He became the inspiration for Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs. But Ed Gein wasn't a monster from Hollywood. He was real. He died in 1984 from cancer in a psychiatric hospital. They called him the Butcher of Plainfield. But Ed Gein wasn't just a butcher. He was the man who turned nightmares into reality. You'd would want to subscribe to Unbelievable True Story to watch many of our mystery histories, because some stories are too dark to stay hidden.